Good evening. I'd like to call the regular school board meeting for Wednesday, May 24th, 2023 to order. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Here.
Mrs. Gator, here. Mr. Roberts,
Here.
Ms. Mitchell.
Here. And is everybody's mics on? Okay. Thank you. And then Miss Muman is
Ms.
coming
Newman?
in.
Second.
All right. Before we get started, I do want to congratulate the class of 2023. Last night was a great graduation ceremony. The energy was so high, and it was a lot of fun watching the kids celebrate each other. And great job to the planning team. You guys did a wonderful job. It was a really good affair. It was bittersweet because this is the last class to graduate from the high school, and it was really bittersweet for those of us that actually had our graduations at that high school as well. So we're closing one door and opening another door to great things, and so we're looking forward to what's going to be happening over the summer as the high school and the middle school are completed. So with that, if we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right, we're going to move on to item 1.3, the approval of tonight's agenda. I know we had two additions earlier today. Are those the only two things that were changed on the agenda?
Yeah, there's two. One was the athletic. You know, we normally pass the Ohio Athletic Association resolution. It was missed in February, so we needed that. And then the second was the amendment to the NEO, to the new A site that we have. When we approved it, they sent us the wrong one. It said Brooklyn instead of saying Warrensville. So when we went to execute the contract, we need to just amend it, just approve it to say Warrensville, which is on the attachment.
All right. Then with that, may I please have a motion to approve the May 24th, 2023 regular board meeting agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item number 1.3, approval of tonight's agenda, May 24th, 2023.
Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Newman,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. If we can move to item 1.4, the approval of the minutes. If I can please have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 12th, 2023 work session and the April 26th, 2023 regular session.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item number 1.4, approval of the minutes that you indicated, the work session April 12th, 2023 and the regular session April 26th, 2023.
Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Oops. Board, is there any discussion on the minutes? All right. Hearing none. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Newman,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. We're at the point in our agenda for public participation. I know we've got our educators here, but we don't have any community participation, and unless we received anything online.
No, ma'am, we haven't received anything.
All right, then we're going to move into item 1.6, a presentation from the Special Education Department.
Good evening, board. As you know, I'm Jamie Lindsay. I'm the Director of Special Education. Tonight I'll be sharing the immediate responsibilities of things that go on day to day within my office. Inside of my office is the immediate office is myself, and then I have Janelle Wallace, which is one of our special education specialists. And then we have Tony Wright, which is the administrative assistant. So we handle the day-to-day operations within our office. So under and within our office, some of the glows that I would like to share is since we've been, since I've been here, or the team has been here, we've had a reduction in special education identification by 5%. This is a big thing because just coming into the district, I think we were at like 33%, and then we fluctuate and go up and down. We're very transient, but we put some things in places to reduce the identifications of students with disabilities. This year, we established a new compliance team to monitor documents and practices. This was really important for us coming off of COVID. We were doing a lot of documents online and doing virtual meetings, so we had to like tighten things back up to make sure that our documents were reflecting the needs of our scholars. Also, last year we met our 2022 special education rating. With that, within the ratings, like the district has a district report card, but then we have a special education rating and a profile that the state puts out as well. So some of the things that are on there is disproportionality, and that's the identifications. It can be identifications of males to females. We are 99.9% African American, but they do race. It can be disproportionality and identification of disabilities as well. It includes timely evaluations, early childhood transitions. Those are the students that come in from the community that we have to test and making sure that they're transitioning into our preschool program, or if they don't have a disability. We have secondary transitions. Secondary transitions include students 14 and up, and just making sure that we're putting plans in those students to make sure that they're work ready and going into the workforce. And then timely corrections of non-compliance. So anytime that there's non-compliance or anything, making sure that we're turning things in. And accurate data for any of the students, like any audits. It can be financial, it can be anything. So just making sure that we're doing those. Another thing that ties into the reduction of students, we have the Warrensville Intervention Support Team, and that is a team that we put interventions together when teachers or other staff members suspect that a student may have a disability. Then we put those interventions in for 6 weeks, and we see if those interventions are working. If they're not working, if they are working, let's continue with the intervention. So that is something that we do, in each building has one of those teams. And then within the last couple years, we've had the de-escalation training with Handle with Care, and that is provided to all staff members. So this year, the security also got on with Handle with Care, because before we were using CPI, crisis intervention, and so now it's Handle with Care, so that we can kind of de-escalate our students before putting hands on. So those are some of the things, some of the glows within our department. Some of the responsibilities that Janelle and I do, we attend and serve as a district rep for IEP meetings. Those are individual educational plans for students with disabilities. ETRs, evaluation team reports, meeting both inside and outside of the district. Because although it's inside of the district, we service the schools, but we also have students that are, whether they're in the DEC, they could be at some of our day treatment centers, and they can be scholarship students as well. So we serve as the district rep with those. We provide ongoing professional development to the buildings when needed. Review documents again for compliance, like the first round when documents come in, Janelle and I review those documents. Review and verify EMIS reporting. That's with Connie's office, that we have weekly meetings with them, reviewing, making sure that students have documents in place, making sure that funding is set up, making sure identifications are in there. So that's a timely task that we do also. We write plans also for out of the district students and those scholarship students. We support teams with placement of scholars. That can be placement within the building. Sometimes they're going from gen ed, sometimes they're going to single classroom, or it can be students for discipline removal. So sometimes when they have discipline removals for students with disabilities, we sit in and assist with placement to make sure that those students are getting their needs met. Assign transportation for out of district scholars, and then collaborate with the transportation department for in-district scholars. So the students that go to day treatments, that's why we utilize an outside provider to provide transportation for them. Coordinate with outside agencies to provide services to scholars and staff for purposes of offering appropriate services. So that can be like you may see on the agenda United Cerebral Palsy. We may use PSI. So those are the kind of collaborations we do with those outside agencies. Another thing that falls kind of under my umbrella is preschool. With preschool, I monitor the funding for all preschool grants. Right now, we have the Universal Pre-K grant, and then we have the Early Childhood Education grant. And for both of those, I think with the UPK grant, we started off at $74,000. Now I think we're up to $108,000. And then ECE, we're at $224,000 for those. So right now we use ECE grants to kind of pay teacher salaries, and then UPK we use those for fun field trips. Like our preschoolers go to the little gym twice a month for those kind of field trips and those kind of activities. Early entrance for child find that goes back to just collaborating with neighborhood centers, whether it's a daycare center. We get calls from downtown or foster care parents that those are the students that we need to get in and see if we suspect a disability, and if so, we move forward with that. Compliance and licensing for preschool, and then step up to quality. So you know that we're second round 5-star step up to quality. So just making sure that we're in compliance with that. So that's where we are with. That's where my office helps out with preschool. Fiscal resources, again, IDA funding for special education. We monitor the John Peterson and the Autism Scholarship. So both of those scholarships are similar to Ed Choice, and Ed Choice is one that you usually hear about. But students with disabilities, they also get the John Peterson Scholarship and the Autism Scholarship. And so just monitoring, making sure that those families reside in the district. That's a big one, because even if we do not, follow through, they're going to take their $32,000 or their $26,000 from our budget. So we might as well follow through, making sure that they're registered, making sure that we send out timely notifications, because that's a red flag that the student may not reside in the district. Again, Universal PK and Early Childhood Grant. And then we have this one report. It's like catastrophic cost takes a lot of time, because I'm sorry. We had catastrophic costs as one, but catastrophic costs covers like students that we get funding from the state, but sometimes those costs are expensive. Like we can spend almost $150,000 on one student if you put transportation in there, related service in there, and then placement. So that's sometimes we can recoup that money from catastrophic costs, and those reports are done yearly. Within the special education department, we have our related service providers. So we have 3 psychologists within the district, one at each building, and depending on caseloads, they may serve as multiple buildings. We have 2.5 speech language pathologists. Half of the speech language pathologists we contract through the ESC. And then we have 1.5 occupational therapists, and that is also through the United Cerebral Palsy. And then also we have a half of a physical therapist that's not included in there for our students. And then 1 transition coordinator, and she makes sure that within the IEPs, we're looking at post-secondary outcomes for those students. She helps out with placement. Like some of our students that are graduating, they need to be connected to ODD. They need to have independent living skills. So those are some of the things that she does for our staff. And then support programs that we have. So within our support programs, you know that we have the Cleveland Clinic mobile van that comes around and does a rotation once a month. So that falls in, within my office. Then we have the dental sealing program for 2nd through the 6th grade. Vision First is pre-K through 1st grade. And then we have a program that our nurse brought into the district this year is to prevent blindness. So any students that may not have insurance, or sometimes, insurance may only cover 1 pair of glasses and the parents can't get another pair of glasses until that next year. So this program provides that for incidentals for those students. Our nursing staff, we have 1 district nurse, we have 1 part-time LPN nurse, At the high school, we have one full-time medical assistant at the middle school. We are getting rid of one of our babies, had a 101 LPN since preschool, and he had that trach removed yesterday. So we will be getting rid of that 101 that he had since he's been in the district. And then we have one health aide and LPN at the elementary. So as we look at transitioning into the early childhood center, we will probably just make sure that we have a health aide there. So for any of the students that need, like if we have a diabetic or anything like that, then the school nurse would be the one to go and issue those shots and monitor those students. And then some of our nursing, our nursing staff, their responsibilities include regular vision and hearing screening, state compliances of shop records and dental records, medical attention to scholars on a day-to-day basis, service diabetic scholars, seizures, allergies, daily medication, and monitor and administer tube feeding. So although I think we have 2 kids in the district that were tube fed, so one of them had the trach removed, so we have one more that's in the district. And then also we have support for our scholars. We have 2 mental health providers. One, of course, being Heart to Heart, and then we have Beachbrook. As we refer students into either one of these health providers, we look at what the needs are. One provider may offer more parental support. One may offer more community support. One of our providers is more hands-on within the school, so that's how we determine which provider is offered to our families. And then we have the one social worker at the elementary. All referrals go through the social worker, and then we place them with the mental health providers as fit. And then we have a social worker that services the middle and high school. So I think that is it. Any questions, concerns, and or comments for the special education department?
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Ms. Lindsay. Ms. Lindsay, you blew me away with this presentation. I'm blown away because, coming in 2015, I didn't know what you guys did, and then see how you do your work and with Beachbrook and working with our disabled scholars. What's the percentage of our disabled scholars we have in Warrensville now? Do you know?
Right now, we're at 23%.
Okay.
So can you clarify that? Because I was going to ask that special education students. Is that what we're
Yeah.
referring to?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were 28%.
Yeah. And yeah, it was
So
bad.
we went up even higher.
We went down.
We went
Well,
down.
no, I understand that, but at one point I thought we were more like 24 or 26%.
We were higher than that.
Yeah, it was higher. It was.
No,
Yeah.
we were
was
higher
higher
than that because I remember in 2000. No, we
It's
were
been
high.
fluctuating.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably been fluctuating, but I do recall it being around 26%, and that was high.
Yeah, and now before the pandemic, we had went down, but then after the pandemic, those numbers, kids start coming back. Those numbers went back up, like they were in the teens, but
Sorry,
it was
Ray.
yeah.
Speak
That's
That's all right.
fine.
No, I just want to commend you guys, and Jonelle, all what you do and work with these agencies. I mean, what you do in your department is harder than anybody can imagine, and I've seen it firsthand. And we've had graduated some scholars that had this disability, so the parents are very grateful. Even last night, we had a couple of those scholars that walked the stage, and their parents are just
They were
they
happy.
kept calling. But I want to commend your staff and commend you guys for what you do.
Thank you.
You blew me away right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one question, and
Yes.
it's kind of related to what Ray just said. I know we had, I'm going to say 5 that graduated last night. Might be
5 that stood out.
Hmm?
5 that probably stood out.
okay.
Mhm.
My question is, what do we provide for those students once they leave our campus? Once they leave Warrensville, what service are we offering? Are they hooked up to some job that can pick them up, or some other provider? What are we providing for those kids that's graduated last night?
So that's what the transition coordinator is for. And so, like, one of the students that was in a wheelchair last night is actually in foster care, and the
Oh,
foster
okay.
parent is saying hands off. So she went around looking for apartments for the kids. They go. Sometimes you hear that the kids go to CBAC, so they're
Mhm.
learning hands-on jobs there, and we're looking at bringing some of those jobs even back into the district at the new high school, because there's a lot of opportunities. So she does that connected with making sure that they have an administrator with ODD so that they can continue support after they leave. We had one scholar up there last night, and it's funny. I remember when he first transferred into the high school, we had an assembly. It was a transition assembly, and he stood up. He said, "Where's the special education classroom?" I'm like, okay, he has some social difficulties. This student is now going into Tri-C next year in the graphics program, and was one of the only students couple years that even passed the test for to be able to do that. So connecting him where before he probably would have been had the social anxiety being at home, where now he's one that's going to Tri-C. One of our students was at the Achievement Center, connecting him so that his mom was really happy to see. She was just wanted her son to participate in our graduation as well, but he'll also be working. So it's like part-time work they have. We have a student that'll be working in Manora Park. So those are some of the things that we connect them with before they leave, to make sure that they're not just sitting at home.
Oh, okay. So we make sure that they are in there where they're supposed to be once they graduate.
Yep.
Do the social worker kind of follow them for 6 months, or we don't do that?
And no, the social worker does not follow them, but now the state has, well, special ed has always had that we follow our students to find out what happened. After 1 year, did they go to college? What was the follow through? But now the state has made it for all seniors. We have to reach out to them to just make sure, what are they doing? What is life like afterwards? How are they living? And those kind of things.
Okay, fantastic.
And one of our peer professionals, Ms. Henderson, does a good job with following through and staying connected with our scholars.
That's excellent. Things that a lot of us would never even think about.
Right.
So thank you. This was really a good educational.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a
Sure.
question? Sorry. You talked about the students that are out of the district. What percentage of those students are we servicing? The ones that are like ed choice or something like that. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
No, so for ed choice, I'm not sure, but John Peterson, I have 4 students, and then autism scholarship, there's 4 students, and John Peterson ranges like 8 to 9, so it's like 13 students, but you have to provide those services or offer them to the students when they have those needs.
We get in trouble
if we don't. Exactly.
Not necessarily Charlie, but that has happened before. And then you had mentioned something about preschool and first grade, vision first. So is it all of the students, or how do you determine which students are going to receive those services?
So for like dental first, if it's 2nd through 6th grade, then it's all of the students. The vision first, it will be all of the students, but it's only within those grade bands. So we try to look out for the other grade bands, but it's only within those grade bands.
So again, for pre-K and first grade,
it's all of them.
There's not that many. Okay. Last question. So you talked about the grant funding that we get. Can't remember which one you said it was.
The UPK, Universal Preschool.
Yes, that's the one. So with that funding, do we get enough, or do we sometimes have to dip into general fund to cover some additional stuff? I mean, is it pretty adequate funding?
It's not for salaries, so it does help for salaries, but for supplies and furniture and field trips and all of that, it helps a lot because we're not using general funds. Like if we didn't have that, our kids wouldn't go to Little Gym once a week. They may do a field trip, to the zoo, or they may go to the farms, but that helps a lot.
All right. Well, good job. You guys are doing an amazing
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alrighty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lindsay.
Thank you,
Lindsay. And thanks so much to the team for coming out. It's good to see you guys. All right, we're going to move to item 1.7, board reports, and I guess we're going to give one final update for the roar report.
Yeah, so
I mean,
this
the
will be
last roar.
it'll be a combination of my superintendent report and board report. I'll do both. The final roar superintendent report. Last day of school is today. So all students, last day was today. So we're moving toward the summer at this point. Our construction again, we have to probably have another meeting to go over all this construction stuff. It's a lot that's going on right now. But we're on schedule at this point at both projects. Um, that's all I can say. We're on schedule. Stadium is going up now, and we are awaiting. Furniture is in the new high school at this time. They are starting to put in furniture at the early childhood center. Flooring is done at the early childhood center. Um, we are waiting on a couple of things at the new high school, some doors and different things. There's some doors that's backlog. The stadium, they have some rails that were lost that we're waiting to come in. We're waiting on some modifications to the gym. They put the wrong color bleachers in the gym, and they also didn't put enough bleachers in the gym. So we're waiting on those modifications to come as soon as possible. Also at the high school, we are moving the high school, the old high school is currently moving. So at this time, we are moving stuff to storage. The moving company has a storage place. So some things are getting moved to storage. And then starting tomorrow, they'll move the boxes to the classroom. So the teachers have their designated classrooms, and the moving company is going to move the boxes directly to the classroom. The middle school is packing, and starting tomorrow, all high school operations get shifted to the middle school. So we moved the middle school offices to the high school offices to the middle school. So everything gets moved to the middle school. So starting tomorrow, they'll start moving all the boxes. Also tomorrow, they'll be unhooking the trailers from the electricity, and the trailers will be going on June 1st. So they'll be leaving also. The middle school is packing also, but we won't move the middle school to the middle of July because the middle school portion of the building is not ready, and we don't want to pay for additional storage for the middle school. So their stuff is just staying there, and then the elementary school people are packing too. The kindergarten and pre-K. So we're waiting probably the middle of the summer once we get the building ready. We'll move them also. So those are the series of moves that we are monitoring at this time. Um, I was trying to think of something else. It's a lot going on at this time.
So, Mr. Jolly,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
they on schedule for pre-K and kindergarten? Are they on schedule for that?
They're on schedule. We're supposed to get the building on June 15th, I believe.
Okay, and the person we hired, have he reported anything back that?
He hasn't reported anything negative at all. We have meetings every Tuesday.
Okay.
And everything's, I mean, if you go in there, it looks just like the elementary school. Actually, the rooms are bigger at the early childhood center than at the new school. So it's a mirror image. Roxanne went in there. Roxanne, did you go, Jamie? Oh, no, Roxanne went to the early childhood center. The sizes of the rooms are huge. Yeah, they're big. So I think all we have to do there is order furniture. We have some furniture. Miss Nancy bought some of the I don't know. I turn my Yeah, so summer school starts at the early childhood center on June 5th. So summer school starts. So we have early childhood center, which will be K to 8. At the not the early childhood center, elementary school K to 8. Then the high school would be at John Dewey. Already in kindergarten, going to first grade. And also we have the high school credit recovery be at John Dewey. So John Dewey would be full of people this summer. The whole high school guidance counselors, everyone will be there till August 14th. And then August 14th, we will start to transition people to the new facilities. Currently on paper, I think we got about 150 kindergartners. We have 7 sections of kindergarten. So yeah, our numbers are pretty high for kindergarten in 7 sections. We started off with like 4 when we first got here. and we've expanded every year. I think we've been up to 8 before, but we're at 7 right now. Every kindergarten class has an 8. Every pre-K has an 8. And then finally, the final roar. Long time. I'd like to congratulate David. David, since Savannah has left, has kind of took the lead on there. Been working with David. David has undertook this, and he's been doing a great job of facilitating and making sure things are done. So tomorrow we start with the partnership with the city. Would be a walk, so anybody can come into the school and walk around the school, but also do their tour. But the skating rink will be in the gym tomorrow. What time is it, David? Yeah. So skating at 4. We anticipate a lot of people will be at the skating. It's free admission. The planetarium show had to be canceled though because the machine is not working, and we didn't want to invest all that money into it, and it's not working. We will keep the machine, though. We're not going to dismantle the machine. We're going to hold the machine, and if, in the event we can put it into the new school, we will put it in the new school and get it fixed. So tomorrow is the partnership with the city of Warrensville to do that. On Friday is the basketball game. So starting at 6 o'clock, Warrensville Tigers against Shaw. The first game is the older game, so it'll be guys who graduated up to 1997, and then the second game would be people who graduated after 1997. So it's $10 tickets for the game. Saturday we have an open house from 10 to 1 at the high school, and already the high school is bare. All the trophies, all the things are gone. They're all packed up. But we have an open house. Also, the Deltas is taking a picture, the last picture there, at 9 o'clock on Saturday. And then starting at 6 o'clock, we had the last dance and last performances, where we had the last choirs, bands performing starting at 6 o'clock. And then we had 2 DJs that one would be in the cafeteria and one would be in the gym. So that looks to be a very exciting weekend on Saturday night. And then Sunday we have an all class reunion cookout. Um, Last I checked, it was 51 classes that signed up. So we have great participation. It'll be in the early childhood center parking lot. I think we got three food trucks, 14 vendors that'll be outside, 51 classes. We have police support. We got North Orlando. We went to all 3 municipalities to ask for support, and we got support from all 3. Um, I know we're gonna have some. Yvette Nicole Brown is coming. I'm hearing a lot of celebrity or people who went to Warrensville that's famous is coming. So we'll see. We hearing rumors. Some like no, it's some
Arsenio
people that
Hall.
local
Yeah.
rappers and like people who went to where I don't know.
Are they still including Arsenio Hall?
I don't think he coming, but
Well, I mean,
it's some people that I guess are
local
famous to
people.
young people
Are you gonna
who
reach
might
him?
not be famous to older people.
Right.
So they coming.
Younger folks.
And then Saturday, excuse my voice. And then Monday is the Memorial Day Parade. So all alumni, we have our rec center in the parade. We got all the, we got our Girl Scouts in the parade. We got our Kings on the Mission, Queens on the Mission. We probably got about 300 students that'll be in the parade, and our world famous band will be in the parade. So it looks to be a great weekend. All the board members, I do have admission bracelets for you to get in for all the events for free. So we have them all for you, and you'll be able to bring a guest also. The picnic is right behind the early childhood center in the big parking lot. So we got a huge parking lot behind it. We've already did the maps on where each class is going to be. It's set up so that you can be around the classes that you went to school with. So you won't be around like the 2010 people if you graduated in 1991. You're gonna be around people that's in your area. Also, there's a DJ that'll be present also at that time, and there's some old teachers that are coming to do some speeches. I guess to talk to the crowd. So, are there any other questions?
I just have one question for clarity. Line up Monday. We're still at Wickfield.
So,
or has it changed?
it's at Wickfield. There will be a bus at the high school though for anybody who needs a ride to the to Wickfield. So we will have a bus for school, our children. We have a bus for our alumni. We have a bus for the band. So there'll be a bus. The bus will leave at 8:45 on Monday. 8:45. Starting at 9 o'clock. I think people will be there. People will be there at 8 o'clock, but 9 o'clock is. Yes, ma'am.
Stadiums from 4 until when?
8.
4 to 8.
8 p.m.
Tomorrow, all ages, and they will have skates available for people. We don't not want. They have to be rubber skates because we don't want the floor messed up.
Right. And the skate rental is free.
It's free.
It's free. There's no nothing that has to be paid tomorrow night.
And then the basketball game. So you kind of have a feel for what that's going to look like.
Yeah, so I mean, in the past, we've done these like alumni games before, and it was like a packed, high level basketball game. Um, I don't think it's gonna sell out. I mean, sellout is like 1,200. I don't think we'll see 1,200. In the event we do, and we will have to turn people away at the door. We hope we see 1,200 people at $10 a piece. We do. We hope that.
I forgot. How many people does the gym seat currently?
12.
It is the 12.
12.
So I've talked to different people throughout the community. I mean, even people out of state. I know a girl that's playing she's just her last week. She's playing.
Right.
So anyhow, it sounds like
And we just hope everybody have a good time. That's it.
I did want to ask one other question about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, the middle school are moving over there. So when is John Newman?
After September 5th. So September 5th, we gotta have a final roar for John Dewey. I think we're gonna do that on September 9th. So it'll be after September 9th. And we'll give Sean the keys and hopefully get it done as soon as possible.
And are there any summer camps?
Yeah, so we don't have any, the YMCA camp, which would be at John Dewey. That's the only camp that I'm aware of that we allow them to use John Dewey to have summer camp. I think once we get through all of this construction, I was talking to Swift about going back to having that sports camp. You know, back in the day, we used to have a sports camp where the whole district we used to go to. It's just so hard to do it now because the rec center gonna be out. The front of the rec center gonna be rec. Then the elementary school gonna be doing the summer school. John Dewey gonna be an office and everything else. But next summer, I think we'll be primed and ready to start our summer programming again. Like an arts one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we'd be ready next year. Even partner with Caramel or something to do something out of the box. All right. All right. Well, that concludes my report. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. So again, we're all looking forward to a really great time. Planning committee has worked really hard on this event, so we're excited. And again, thanks, David, for all the work you've done. As we move on to our agenda, we're going to go to item 1.9, and Dr. Rock, we're going to hand it over to you for your treasurer's report.
Thank you. Okay. You could go to the next slide, David. So tonight, the May 5-year forecast will be on the agenda. Next slide. And it's due every November and May. The Ohio Department of Education provides 3 years of historical information and 5 years of projections. The first year being this year, and then 4 years after that. Next slide. So on the 5-year forecast, when we're reviewing it for ours, it's good to review it from the bottom up. So the very bottom line, 15.010, and then the next line up is 6.010. These are the two important lines that we look at when we review our 5-year forecast here at Warrensville Heights. Next slide. So line 15.010 is the unreserved fund balance, and this actually says, if the district is running out of money or needs money. So a positive number in each column depicts that we are within budget and that we're sustaining. A negative number in any of the columns would depict that we would have a need for funding. The great news here is that Warrensville Heights is funded for all 5 years. Next slide. Line 6.01, this is the slide that we concentrate on to spend within current resources. If we spend within current resources, we're using what's currently coming in on the year, and then there would be money left over that we could carry forward. So a positive number on this line depicts the net revenue to be carried forward. Negative line depicts the use of prior year carry forwards. Right now, fiscal year 2023 and 2024 are both positive. Next slide. And if we look at this in further analysis, we have to make a couple of adjustments. The first adjustment is for the financing that we did on the on the Early Childhood Center, and the additional funds for the middle school, high school. We were building up a carry forward in order to finance this. So if we back those out, and then in addition, in 2026, the renewal of the emergency levy will come in. So if we do that, we're actually on that line. It's positive for the next 3 years, which is very good news for the district. Next slide. So the conclusions are that the financial strategy is in full effect. This is what we've established to utilize our ESSER funds to build up the general fund in order to do this financing. So there's decreases in line 3.010, and in 15.01 you'll see increases. So that's where that's working in full effect. The general funds are then used to make the finance payments, and thus these are not part of the revenue and current expenditures analysis. That's why I'm pulling those out. Next slide. So the other conclusions are the renewal of the emergency levy is presented in line 11.020. This is standard practice. If we have a levy that's expiring, we've had this on our 5-year forecast before, and that's a renewal levy. It's renewed every time since 1990. Thus, that's added into the analysis. So when we look at that, we're spending within resources for the next 3 years. Next slide, please. And we'll begin returning to pre-pandemic levels in 2025. Staffing levels for the return to school during the pandemic increased as we came back. So in other words, when we came back when we were in the pandemic, we increased staff by a substantial amount, like about 22 positions. But that then throughout time, through attrition and movement out of the district and consolidation of the staff and the new facilities, we're back to the pre-pandemic levels, which means that when we're done with the ESSER funding, there's been a concern that, hey, when we're done with the ESSER funding, we're going to get hit with this big bill because we have more staff. It's readjusted itself, and we're at the pre-pandemic levels, which is good. It may be a coincidence. It's part management also, again, with managing the attrition and the movement of the district, and also right sizing along the way through consolidation. So we're in a good standing point now with the staff levels. Next slide. So again, we're returning to the pre-pandemic levels. The financial impact will adjust as we get there after this year and the next year, utilizing ESSER financial strategy as discussed. And current projections are conservative. These will reduce as we get into fiscal year 2024. Next slide. So the 5 facts from the 5-year forecast. All 5 years are funded. This is all great news. The next line is, and this is the line we concentrated on. We presented to even Moody investors. You know, this is one of our strong points with our fiscal stewardship for the district. The district spent within current resources for 15 consecutive years. 15 years we spent within current resources. And then again, according to this, we have another 3 years. There's a substantial increase in interest revenue, and that's due to the recent rate increases by the federal increases. The Early Childhood Center financing strategy is in full effect, and the ESSER funding will end September 24th. So these are all 5 very heavy facts that are great news for our 5-year forecast and show the financial horizon as very healthy for the district. The next slide is we had the Records Retention Committee meeting, which was just a very simple meeting for me to present the form that we need to file with the Ohio Department of Historical Records. It's actually called, I'm sorry, I'm losing it. I know it's written up there. The Ohio History Connection, and also the state auditors. So what we do is we follow this form, and it's like 30 pages. It shows just about every type of public record that a school district can have, and it shows the timelines that are suggested to keep those records. And it's all within Ohio Revised Code. So what we do is we review that real fast, and then give me authority to submit it to the Ohio History Connection. We submit it, and then they return back to us the approval. And then after that, we know that that's our records retention schedule, and ours needed to be refreshed. And then after that, any records that we have that are on that list, we can destroy, get rid of the obsolete records that are on the list. So this is just the first step, and this gets us rolling. And then we would meet in the future, saying, here's the list of records that could be destroyed, and review that and review off the list. So that's just for me to file the form, and I will be submitting it after tonight. And that concludes my section.
Thank you, Dr. Rock. Are there any questions for Dr. Rock?
Yeah. So 6.01 is like your net revenue of your district. So on those line items, you would see that if it's a positive number, that means that we've spent within resources. So for the next 2 years, according on the 5-year forecast, without the adjustments that I talked about, it's 2 years. But if we look at the adjustments, it's actually 3 years. Does that help answer your question? If we go back to the slide, David, please. The one where it's like a bunch of numbers and looks like number 6. There we go. So right now, Mrs. Gator and board, the first line item is that's what's on line item 6.01 right now in the 5-year forecast. 18 million, 1.8 million, and then now you have some negative where we would be deficit spending. So in 2025, according to our projections, we would spend 264,000 more than what's coming in. And then the next year would be 2.8 million, and the following year would be 5.5.
So is there a strategy though?
Constant. We're constantly attacking that. And our board policy is that if there was a negative year in the second year, Mr. Jolly and I have to come to the board with a solution. If it's in the third year, we recognize that we're working on it. But when you're out 4 or 5 years, that's so far out. But we're constantly looking at that, and that's been the secret to our success.
Yeah, I'll speak to that too. So some positions this year where people have resigned, we are not replaceable. So we just try to do it naturally through attrition. I mean, it adds up. So we have some positions this year that we're not going to replace.
So what Mr. Jolly is talking about is payroll positions.
Yes, payroll.
And then constantly, we were always looking for the best deal for being frugal and fiscally responsible. So then what we do is we have to back out the numbers because we wanted to build up that $18 million as a result of Esser's money coming in and actually of Esser's expenses going to Esser's and not being on the general fund, so it goes up. And remember, that was our financial strategies to build up that amount so then we could finance the early childhood center. So that's why I say that we need to back off the finance of that, because that box of money or that layer of money was built up and it's used to be spent as we pay off the early childhood center. So that's why we're making those adjustments there. So after that adjustment, year 3 becomes a positive. And you see on there where it becomes a positive 975. So that's the up and down that I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Sorry I went through that section fast.
I'm Chair, I do have a question. Dr. Rock, the new state of, I see the forms that they have for you on record retention, is that something new? They just revised it?
Yeah, it gets revised every so many years. We haven't refreshed ours for a long time, and we haven't met. So the auditors suggested that we start meeting again, and so this is like the first step to get us moving.
I've seen it. Like a checklist. It's good. My other only question, investments and the investments that when you came here to our district, you actually put in play has helped us. And I just want to let you know, give you kudos for that.
Oh, thank you.
That money to different Star Ohio and getting us a little bit of extra money that we wouldn't have as a district. But I want to thank Superintendent and you being conservative on your spending. We don't just waste wasteful spending.
Exactly.
Look at it. Superintendent, look at those positions. I want to thank you for that.
That's constantly going on. Whenever anything happens, Mr. Jolly will call me, or I'll go to him and say, "Hey, I think we can get a better deal on this," and then we spearhead it and get it going through. In regards to interest revenue, at the beginning of the year, we had a projection of $600,000 on interest, but we didn't know the rates were going to go up that fast. And all the other times out of recessions, rates have ratchet up slowly, just like how they slowly go down. But this was like overnight; it went from 0 to 3.5–4%, like nothing. So we had our original projection at the beginning of the year was $600,000, and I'm happy to say right now we're at $1.4 million. So that really helps our 5-year forecast.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's just general fund interest revenue.
Go ahead.
So how does the construction project, how is that reflected?
Not reflected at all.
It's not reflected.
No.
The reason is?
Because it's through the OFCC, and that's through our building funds, which are 004 and 010. Our 5-year forecast is just the general fund. But that's where we made a strategy to do some financing. The district can make at their discretion, you can make a decision to do financing through the general fund, and that's why we have this adjustment here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rock. All right, we're going to move into section 2. If I can please have a motion to enter into executive session for the preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Dr. Rakim, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin, Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, thank you. We are going to convene into executive session and we will be back as soon as possible. So we do hope that those of you who are online watching the meeting will remain online. We will be back.
Yes. Just settle the cash. It's actually built for this. Okay. Yeah. Because I like school finance. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's an option. Story. Okay. I'll be right there.
they shouldn't be going too long. Give it about 20, 30 minutes maybe. You still gotta go, don't you?
It's funny because you didn't get hurt. That's it was good seeing you.
All right, you two guys. Bye bye.
Take care. Take care. All right, can we please have a motion to reconvene from executive session?
Mrs. Gator? Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Miss Mitchell?
Next on the agenda, may I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda, the treasurer's report, financial recommendations. This is going to be for item 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. Madam Chair, I move the work session.
3.
I'm sorry, 3.1. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Board meeting discussion on either of these three items.
I just have one quick question for Dr. Rock. The cash rec, we're good on the cash rec? Good. Sure. That's it.
All right, hearing nothing else, Dr. please call the roll.
Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator? Mr. Roberts? Miss Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is item 4. If I could please have a motion to approve items and agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentation.
For board action, administrative staff, this is going to be items 4.1 and 4.2.
Madam Chair, I move item number 4 on tonight's agenda by consent, superintendent's recommendation and presentation of board action, administrative staff, looking for items 4.1 and 4.2.
Thank you, ma'am. Please have a second. Thank you. Board, is there any discussion on this section?
I did ask for the salaries so I could compare it. Is it possible when we get long lists like this that maybe you send it out to us with the individual name attached to it? Maybe just some time to have to
Yes, ma'am.
figure out the title and salary. I do like to see what the salary is.
Okay, so what we do, I'll do that next time. We'll make a special one for the board so they can. So you don't have to go from the salary and we can do that. I'll do that. I'll make sure you get that.
Mr. Dolan, the step you got up to now is the current step, right?
Yes, the current step. Yes, ma'am.
It's not they've been moved to step 5 or anything.
No, that's the step they go into.
Current.
So currently they whatever step they are, they're on step 1. So say the first person is step 1, now they move to step 2.
Is this what they just did?
Mm-hmm. Everybody just move 1 step.
So we don't have jump steps, like somebody does a great job that year and we don't.
No, we don't do that. There's one person whose step did jump. Let me show. It's Miss Thompson. So you remember we gave Miss Thompson the supplement? Miss Thompson got the supplement. So to make her salary the same, we have to jump her steps to get her. It's more than what she made before, but she was making a certain number. And if we would get her step, it would have been less than what she's made because she has the whole school. She has over 700, 800 kids, so her salary has to be where it is. So
Something, a situation like that, you just let us know.
right, yeah. If somebody, yeah, yep.
All right. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. No, I think we got good people. We want to keep our good people. I think our salaries are really we able to compete. That's why we're not losing any of our people because our salaries are got comparable. All right, we ready for 5-1? We went for 5.
If we can please
Sorry,
have a vote.
Sorry.
Can you call the roll, Dr. Rock?
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator? Mrs. Moomin? Yes. Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Now we can move into section 1. If I can please have a motion to approve by consent agenda, superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action, certificated staff, and that's going to be items 5.1 through 5. I'm so sorry, 5.8.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move on tonight's agenda by consent the superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action certified staff, looking for items 5.1 through 5.18.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Board, is there any discussion on this section?
These are all pretty standard.
Yeah.
All our people who did extra things this year.
Superintendent Jolly, do you have enough your coaches and assistants for this coming year?
It's my understanding that we're fully staffed for sports going into the fall.
Okay. And this is including basketball assistants?
No, basketball assistants, no. But I know for football,
Okay.
cross country, they'll be bringing Mr. Coleman's name back from cross country.
Okay.
Coleman, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing further, if we can please have a roll call, please, Dr. Rock.
Mrs. Gator? Yes. Mrs. Moomin? Yes. Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is section 6. If I can please have a motion to approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff, and this is going to be section item 6.1 through 6.13.
Madam Chair, I move on tonight's agenda number 6, a consent superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff, looking for items 6.1 through 6.13.
May I have a second? Thank you. Board, is there any discussion on this section?
I'd like to designate 6.8. Basically, 6.8 is replacing Ms. Dean in the rec center. We have not had anybody there to open it, so we had to change the hours, and then Saturdays. So this will allow us to have people rotating, a group of people to cover the rec center. That was a concern because we do have seniors that want to come to the rec center, and we just open the door with nobody there. We got to open the door, so we got to have people there. So we didn't want to commit to one person, so it's 4 people rotation.
How will we get the word out that we're opening back up at 5:30?
We probably would stay with 6:30 until
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 for the rest of the summer.
Okay. It was 5:30 though.
It was 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Miss Dean used to open us up at 5 o'clock every day.
Wow.
All right, if that's it, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin? Yes. Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Right, we are at section 7. If I can please have a motion to approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentation for personnel and programs, and this is going to go items 7.1 through 7.18.
Madam Chair, do we have to do these separately or not?
No, we can just discuss it.
This is the second reading. Yeah.
No, we're good. Madam Chair, I move item number 7 on tonight's agenda, superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs, looking for item 7.1 through 7.18.
Thank you. Now the floor is open for discussion.
We do have a presentation for the adopt and approve the 9 through 12 math program. If we can have Roxanne and Ms. Couture, I'm gonna go through the David had to leave, so I'll do the slideshow.
Okay.
Mrs. Couture is going to walk you through the adoption recommendations. So last year we adopted curriculum for K-8 math, and then the high school, we couldn't quite pick a curriculum, so they were piloting a curriculum this year. And the curriculum that they were piloting is Envision for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. So just to provide an overview of the Envision AGA is through SAVIS, which we, for ELA, have already included our My Perspectives curriculum. The main idea of Envision is that it provides our students with access to what we consider to be meaningful mathematics. There's an alignment to the Ohio standards, and real-world topics are embedded in every single section. There's problem-based learning, examples and exercises, STEM projects, and mathematical modeling in something called a 3-act task. Students explore, come up with general ideas, and then apply their ideas to see if their theories are correct and correct any of their prior thinking as they proceed through the elements. There is also family engagement involved in this program. There's topic-specific support for students and families. Families and students, not just the students, have access to video tutorials. There's also newsletters that teachers can send out for every single topic. And in that newsletter, there's a QR code parents can scan for videos to help them if they need help their children.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Every topic correlates to explicit instruction, which is one of our district goals. There's skills practice and review, as it provides scaffolded instruction, intervention, practice, and review of critical concepts and skills. The 4-step lesson plan recommended by the program follows explicit instruction with a gradual release, beginning with Explore, which is the lesson introduction, mathematical reasoning and discourse, and a check for understanding, prior to moving on to step 2, the understand and apply, which provides the essential question, instructional guidance, and addressing the misconceptions. Step 3, we begin to push the ideas onto our students with our practice and problem solving, allowing them to actively engage with the question sets. There are both basic and advanced question sets, so depending on our students' academic needs, we can determine which set to give them. All of the question sets are DOK aligned, and there is adaptive practice. Step 4, we assess and differentiate. There's a lesson quiz with an item analysis that is aligned to both the standards and the DOK levels. Yes.
Can you explain DOK, please?
Oh, yes, thank you. DOK is depth of knowledge, going from basic recall all the way up to advanced problem solving.
Thank you.
So going into that step 4 a little bit more, we have the lesson quiz with the item analysis, and we use the student scores to group the students to provide the differentiated instruction. Within this program, there's something called Savvy Adaptive Practice. If the lesson quiz is given digitally, the program automatically groups the students and provides personalized practice that's focused on the key concepts or prerequisite skills, and it provides proficiency level checks, which are also real-time adjustments based off of the student responses. If the lesson quizzes are given on paper, there is a lesson quiz item analysis that the teachers then follow to then be able to assign that practice to the students. And once the students are on that practice, then the adaptive practice robotic techniques take over.
So it's based on their need.
It's based off of their needs, yes. So when we think about that intervention block for Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, we could really look at that savvy piece to it and group the students based on the concepts that they're teaching. So then if we know, whatever concept's coming up, but they need these prerequisites, we can focus that intervention class on that, and that savvy will help us. Additional key features, again, we have the Ohio alignment, but it also aligns to the OST with the Ohio standards. And the Desmos Graphing Calculator is the calculator that is linked to our OST exams. Within the curriculum, there are embedded digital interactive activities to help develop students' understanding and algebraic thinking while also using the calculator that they will use on the exam itself. As we mentioned earlier, within those newsletters and within the lessons themselves, there are QR codes that provide students and families direct access to video tutorials and additional personalized practice. So a student can say, oh, I'm struggling with this. Or a parent can say, I don't know how to help my child with this. They can scan this QR code. It doesn't have to be directly assigned by the teacher.
Awesome.
Every physical material is also a digital material. So the student and teacher text is also in e-text form. And there is the student interactive companion, which is where we get our guided notes and practice. Again, that is both digital and physical. So we can provide our students with whatever access they need. Every lesson has a vocabulary builder. You do not have to use it within that lesson. You can do small group instruction with it, but it is available for every single lesson to promote the mathematical discourse, really utilizing those terms properly. And we have also decided to use the professional development that has been offered, which is for both teachers and administrators. They are two separate PDs. So the teachers will have implementation PDs to make sure that they are following that 4-step lesson plan and really figuring out how to use these different items within their classrooms themselves. And best practice is for the administrators to also attend that PD, but then they have their separate professional development, which is going to promote monitoring of the implementation within the classroom so that the administrators also know exactly what's going on, what they should see in the classroom, and it's not all laid directly on the teachers. And it provides another point of support. Some of the successes that teachers have stated that they had during the pilot that we had this year, I mentioned the Savvy adaptive practice. There's also a Math XL. The Math XL is the practice and problem solving piece that goes with every single lesson, but that piece can be customized, and the program itself, if done digitally, keeps track of all of the data from those and any assessments that are given, and it really generates the adaptive practice piece through the Savvy adaptive practice. There are higher order questions, and the information gets progressively more challenging, not just from beginning of year to end, but as the lesson itself progresses from the beginning introduction all the way to the end. There's the 3-act math, textbooks with notes and examples for the students, and the teachers have stated that they believe that this is a program that is going to grow the students over the next few years. Variety of examples and practice problems that are offered to build student understanding. And we did this year, as we implemented this pilot, we had monthly PDs that the teachers attended during their TPT time. And during those PDs, they met with one of 3 different representatives from the company. And the teachers have stated that those PDs were very beneficial in helping to explain how the program worked, re-explaining it. They also had direct access to those representatives. They did not have to wait for those monthly PDs. They could email them, call them, get immediate feedback if they were struggling with something. And each time that they had these PDs, the teachers stated that more of the available content and information was explained, so they felt more and more comfortable every time that they had this professional development.
Oftentimes when we get new programs, there's just so much that it's hard when you're in the trenches providing the instruction to the kids that you don't have that opportunity to go and explore. So this pilot enabled them to explore the different pieces, and then the monthly meetings with the sales rep, it was able to pinpoint different things that and concepts that the teachers could go in and try.
The teachers stated that some of their favorite aspects were the Math XL, which again is the practice and problem solving. They provided repetitive systematic practice. And when we say repetitive, we don't mean it was the same problem over and over. It was the same process. The students received a problem, If they got it right, then they moved on to the next one. If they got it wrong, it initially began with a try it again, look at this example, watch this video, and if they got it wrong a third time, then it sent them back to a prerequisite skill that the program determined was needed for them to be successful on this particular skill. Each of the different practice and problem solving start with an initial bank of 25 questions that the teachers can customize up to 5 different ways. So you can group your students within that practice set itself, or you could just cut down the number of problems. And then the teachers have stated that they recommend Envision because the textbook breaks down the material into different examples that cover all of the aspects of the standards. And the online practice provides them examples, video tutorials, takes them to the specific section of the book that covers the information if they're struggling. And the entire book is available online to the students anytime that they have access, and which can also be accessed offline as long as they have their login information. And they can go and get that information. And then we use the 2018 edition this year for the pilot, but next year we would have the 2024. So then the parents and families would have access to all of the information via those QR codes.
So I do have a question. What did the grades look like school year over school year? So whatever we were using last year compared to this new Envision.
So previously at the high school, we have been using CPM, which is College Preparatory Math, for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. However, that program does not provide any online access other than an ebook. There's no adaptive practice. There's not additional practice problems and things like that. So as we move forward into trying to figure out exactly how we can adapt our programs and our learning materials for our students, a program like Envision is going to be able to be utilized to provide that true differentiated instruction.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me ask my question again. I want to know what the students' grades were. So in the last, whatever program we were using prior to Envision, did we see a shift in grades using a platform that provided more instruction? Yeah.
Right. So you could probably talk about when you were teaching with.
So the when we look at the actual classroom grades, they are approximately comparable. There are several struggles with the prior program that we were using. It took a lot of scaffolding to try and get it down to the students' level, because it expected them to be here automatically, and it didn't provide any of the prerequisite skills and knowledge bases. So the teachers had to go through and we had to figure out how to provide all that prerequisite knowledge. Whereas with this program here, because of the adaptive practice piece, that those prerequisite knowledge skills are being identified at an earlier stage, and the teachers can actually work on implementation for specific students. So grade-wise, it's approximately comparable.
So you didn't see any change using the newer system?
So what we saw was that when she had mentioned the scaffolding, teachers had access to materials instead of going out and trying to create their own. So that's one of the major things that was helpful for teachers. So they had already vetted curriculum as opposed to going and writing kind of their own problem sets to scaffold that learning so that students can get access to that content that was in the curriculum.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. One of the other things too with this, with Savvy versus what we were, for the intervention. So the intervention piece this year for intervention, we actually used a different program. It was not part of, they used this for their tier 1 curriculum, the Savvy, but we also had a different curriculum that was used during intervention that was already purchased. So what we did was we looked at with Ms. Thornton, because she does the tier 2, is we looked at, we were using Alex in the intervention courses, and then this additional intervention piece that was being used in tier one. And we noticed that they were pretty comparable in what they were providing, except for Savvy did that more adaptive learning. So if the student got a series of questions wrong, the computer automatically analyzes what they got wrong and gives them now prerequisite questions or skills and tutorials to help them like learn those prerequisite skills to get them back up. So what we hope to do, if we get approved, is not use that additional piece because that kind of it conflicts when we're using two different programs.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to have the same message against the intervention and then the core tier one curriculum. So that piece as well. And then the whole piece too with the professional development with administrators, that's helpful because that's going to help with the fidelity of implementation happening in the classroom. So that was inconsistent.
So basically, because the systems are so very different, and there had to be teacher massaging of the information in the Oprah, you're not really seeing a difference in grades just yet.
Just yet.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
If I miss the problem every time on the computer, what is the teacher going to do to help me?
So there's two folds, right? Fully answer your question. I'm sorry.
What is the teacher going to do to help me learn that procedure?
Thanks.
Because I'm listening to you and I'm trying to figure out, do all your teachers get it? What are you guys doing to make sure the teacher understands this particular program? And how are we going to be successful in implementing that?
And part of that is going back to the plan that we are putting together in correlation with the administrators to make sure that the teachers understand how they look at the data that they're getting and they can provide that differentiated instruction for the student. So yes, a student may get a particular question wrong 3 times and the program is automatically going to identify that. However, that may be something as simple as I'm putting the decimal point in the wrong place, or I'm messing up my units. It's going to diagnose those specific prerequisite skills. However, the prior to the student getting to that independent practice, that is the other 3 parts of our lesson plan, which correlates directly with the explicit instruction model, where we're going to make sure that if they provide that direct guided instruction and check for understanding before they send the students off to that specific practice and problem solving on their own, then we will hopefully have addressed any of those misconceptions prior to getting to that point. So they're not on their own. And if they do determine that there is a need, then they can hold a small group. So we're working fully on implementation and monitoring the implementation and addressing the teacher's needs in implementing it so that their students can be successful.
And that's where Ms. Couture, as the math coach, as the math specialist for the secondary level.
Okay, you're the coach.
Yes.
How often do you go into a classroom to make sure that the teacher understands this particular program?
So my current plan for this upcoming school year is going to be a minimum of 1 class period per teacher per week minimum. At least at the very beginning of the year, and then determining if more time is needed to go in there for any specific teacher. This year, I had that goal initially, and due to various reasons, I didn't get quite there. So I was at the high school with those teachers about once every 2 weeks.
And also, Mrs. Couture attends the TBT meeting. So when the math department meets and they're planning, she's also working with them currently on a pacing document to make sure that all the standards are being covered before we take the state test, especially now that we're starting a little bit later. Starting September 5th versus the middle of August, making sure all those standards are covered, and then utilizing
the assessment pieces within the curriculum so that we can monitor the students' understanding. So it's not just when we take the universal screener or we take a benchmark assessment at the end of the quarter, but when, you know, it's step 4 is the assessment piece within the lesson and making sure that is happening and the data is reviewed at those weekly TBT meetings.
And those lesson quizzes, because they happen at the end of every lesson, right. And depending on the time period, you know, if we have 50-minute classes, then one lesson is expected to take 1.5 to 2 days. So approximately every 2 days, we will be diagnosing our students' needs.
So I noticed on the PowerPoint resolution that we got do they even know that we're using new tools?
So I don't know that they knew that they were using new material specifically. I know that some of them, because I, being in the classroom, I did have conversations with the students, and I thank you for asking that question. I didn't think to include it. The students really do appreciate the Math Excel, which is the practice and problem solving, because it gives them additional feedback. So they hear it from the teacher, they might hear it from additional classmates, but then they have extra time to go back and look and really understand it. And if they don't understand it after that, then they can go and they know more specifically what questions that they ask. And so I did hear that from several students that they really like that extra practice piece. And they like that it's physical and online. A lot of them did just say that they wanted more guided notes. And we are getting what's called the student companion. We're getting those physical consumable books for them next year. So they will each have their own guided notebook. Whereas this year that was only online. There was no way, unfortunately, of being able to print that out.
And the other piece too, when we did some Saturday sessions in December, where students would come in and Mrs. Couture and our primary academic coordinator ran some like math labs. And one of the things that we did with them was use the actual Desmos calculators. And those students were like, oh, I didn't really realize how to use that. But this program actually builds that into the instruction where teachers, they would, during instruction, you could pull up on, you know, a website that has the Desmo calculator so they can get used to using it. But this is actually built into like everyday use.
There's a physical button that they click within the program. If they're working on the online program, there's just a button that they click and it takes them directly to the Desmos calculator. They don't have to go pull up another website. It pulls up right in the program itself.
That's great.
Sometime next year, I think that after this, I have what we want to share the data, but presently we will see the data.
Well, I get, but to tap into that, I guess because I let other people ask questions. I don't want to keep asking the same question. How long will it take to see a shift in the grades?
So usually it does take about a 2 to 3 year implementation. But so we piloted it last year.
Mm-hmm.
Count that as like the year 1.
Mm-hmm.
So that first year of any program, it's like I had mentioned before, a lot of the teacher trying to use and learn the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So they got with the piloting, the way that Envision pilots the program. I mean, we were lucky to have someone come in every month to go through that. With just you know, we paid a little bit of money for that to happen. So we have that. Mrs. Couture was part of that, so she knows the ins and outs that you carry that work on. So we're hopeful by using a consistent program, and by also, like I mentioned too, getting our admin trained and on board so that they know what to look for when they go into those math classes, and then the support of the curriculum department. Also, we're hopeful that we'll be able to see something by the end of next year.
We would, but it wouldn't be much of a shift. So yeah, we would definitely get an update.
So when we shared some information and data when we presented earlier this year about our elementary. So when we present again next year, we'll in
At the high school.
Yeah.
That would be great, even if it's not gonna, these are results that we wanted, it's still show us, right, this is where we see we need to be, right? It wouldn't be that just to show that, all this great improvement, we wanna see any progress.
I have one quick question, and I'm looking at 6 years about, like we allot thing for 6 years.
So I was going to tell you, they gave us a 3-year and a 6-year, and the difference was $14,000. So to me, I was thinking, well, $14,000 after having to renew all of this again in 3 years, and they are giving us the most up to date. They're giving us the 2024 edition. So, so most curriculum, companies they're not really renewing that often. So because their last was 2018, so that was almost 6 years. So,
So do you see that the student is enjoying this
Yes.
particular program?
Yes.
So based on that, you definitely should have some data to say improvement in 2 years.
Yes. And again, the key is the implementation piece, making sure that it's implemented within the classrooms with fidelity. And that's why the plan that we're working on with the admin team and the teachers is all encompassing within this to make sure that we are providing the best possible instruction for the program.
And there's going to be a lot of hands-on.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm more of a hands-on person than so a computer person.
Right.
So I'm almost sure that a lot of students out there will probably feel the same way. If they get the instruction from their teacher directly and the explanation and explain, I think they would be more better. It's not, and I'm not saying this is not an excellent program, but it sounds like from the presentation that it's an excellent program. So we'll see.
And that's part of that Act 3 map that teacher talked about. That is that real world application piece. So bringing the concepts in, making sure that they can apply those into different situations. So it's helping the critical thinking piece.
What's the biggest challenge?
Both the teachers and the students have stated that the online program itself is slightly difficult to maneuver. However, with the monthly professional developments that we had, all of those pieces got slightly easier for the teachers, and then by extension, it got slightly easier for the students. So it is the digital access, the digital component that is more difficult. And so one of the things within the implementation is balancing the use of the physical materials with the digital materials to be able to use it as best we possibly can. I can give you just a basic explanation as to why it's not so easy. It's still just a textbook that has been placed online. And so whereas with a textbook, you can just turn a page, here you have to go, okay, I have to go here to do this, and I have to go here to do this, and this to do this piece. So once you know where all of those tools are, it's easy to get through.
Oh, okay.
But until you know where those tools are, all online textbooks and programs are a little bit tricky to maneuver.
And know that cost is, the online platform and all the student licenses and teacher licenses, but actual physical textbooks and then the companion books, which are the reproducible pieces that are the consumables that students are writing. So all of that is within their textbooks alone are pretty pricey.
Yeah. Thank you all so very much. That was a very thorough presentation, and we do look forward to seeing how well not only the scholars but the educators acclimate to the new program. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great job.
All right. Are there any more questions in section 7? Mhm. It was just the wording I was gonna ask if it was made. Yeah, I was. I had. Cause I brought them with me. I was gonna ask if it was made.
So no, it has not been made. When I reached out to Joe Sigford,
Mhm. Mhm.
so I don't know if we can vote on it as it is, and then if we kind of make changes to it.
Mhm.
Just we've got two other volumes that we're moving as well.
Yeah. I mean, it really wasn't a big deal. I just wondered if that could be changed.
I was just about to say,
Yeah, because it's
change it.
it's, it's our policy. I mean, it's recommended by Neola. Yeah.
The biggest
You don't need to
thing
vote on
about
it.
it is, since this is grant funds, they're just basically saying you can't, do certain things based on.
Mhm.
However, you guys would like to choose it.
We can just
Yeah,
change
it
it.
was just a
We
labeling. That
can
was
change
all.
it. Just we can do it.
Okay. And I mean, if everybody doesn't feel the same, it doesn't have to be changed. That was just my own question. Okay. All right, Dr. Rock, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gaynor, Mrs. Moomin, Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. And died. All right, next on our agenda, we need to provide overviews for the COSPA and UBA board conference, and that's going to be members Freeman, Gator, and Roberts, and myself. And I will ask that as we provide our updates, keep them succinct.
Keep them what?
Succinct, short, concise, to the point.
Always do. But yeah.
Go right ahead.
So I attended sessions. That session was the ones that were the race organization. Most impact sessions that I attended were words matter, meaning what we say and saying what we mean. Basically making sure that we understand the meaning and typically we have this opportunity to achieve that as well. But buzzwords in education quite often really want what the difference is. Those are two sessions. The other one was paying attention to management and person, developing healthy, emotional, and social tapestries. So this guy was there. He really was. He was thought provoking. Guys in Mississippi. He spoke. He really did remind me of being down south. Yeah, he talked about porch spoon, homemade, and pound cake. So the whole thing though was about leadership styles and making sure that as a leader you're in touch with not just your feelings, employees, but your stakeholders in general. It was a really good, session. Yeah, the other one that I went was board role in achieving educational equity to support student achievement. This one was hosted by the Georgia Association of School Board. They threw some sharp feedback about the website and see, just what they have going on. But the session, we were assigned a student profile and we had to determine the equity issues of this particular child that we were assigned to. So what they did is they gave us specifics about the demographics of the community that they lived in. It was each district. So some students were in the wealthy section, some were in the poverty section. So we just had discussions about what equity was really represented. I thought it was a really good session. I really enjoyed the conference in general. And then the last one was my premium is great storyteller, and just stories about being a news reporter. We had everybody laughing.
Thank you. Do you want to go next?
Yes, ma'am. I attended quite a few very informative sessions as well.
For the sake of time, I will just highlight one of them that I thought that I was very interested in, and I found it kind of near and dear to our district. It's called Truly Go, how a school district moved from level 1 to level 5 during the pandemic, and it was put on by the Memphis Shelby County uh, board. Very informative. They talked about they had academic growth that was not seen like in a decade. They were the largest district in Tennessee, and they went from their rating schedule. They went from level 1 to level 5. And so I wanted to know how they did that. How did they were they able to how they were able to improve so greatly in such a great time. And it seems like they used their ESSER funds very effectively. And they went down how they used them. They used them for tutoring, student readiness, advanced courses, social emotional learning, teacher support, things like that. And it got me thinking, and it spurred some conversations that I had with some of our, administrative officials, and I was very happy, enthused to find that we were using our funds to do some of these same things. And then they went further into talking about when the ESSER funds ran out, would they be able to sustain these particular programs, which again spurred some more conversations. Once again, had me very enthused about how our district is managing money. Dr. Rock's report earlier tonight speaks to just what he had in his report. How we will be able to maintain these things because we'll be back to pre-pandemic numbers without sacrificing any of these programs that we have put in place. So actually, this let me know that the things that we're doing here in our district are very effective and very much on the line with other districts, much larger districts that are making great strides, but we're keeping like right up with them. So I was very enthused by going to there, and it left me with a very good feeling about the things that we're putting in place here in our district. And that's all I have.
Thank you. We'll go right in order. I have to agree with Mimi and Earl. UBA was excellent. It was
Wow.
excellent. So great job for the work that you guys have done to pull that together, Ray. And I was really impressed with COSBA as well. I think my only issue with COSBA, there were so many great topics, and instead of repeating some of them because we had so many days to attend, there were so many you couldn't go through the entire itinerary. So I hope some of the ones that were on the agenda for this year, they will come back next year. I won't repeat some of the ones that have been already talked about, but there were two others that stood out to me. Navigating the turbulence, being a collaborative leader in today's environment, and then school board president leadership. The first one was presented in partnership with a consulting firm and a former school board member, and it really again emphasize the work that we've done in our district to become a governance minded, governance driven board. But there were a couple of things that I took away that I thought these are things that we could potentially do, um, and at least look at. Continue board learning about each other. They did make a recommendation to go through Strength Finders by Gallup. I don't know if anybody's gone through that through their workspace. I have. It is a really good look at who we are individually and collectively. It takes what Deborah Keys Wright did with us through the training that we went through to a brand new level. It helps you understand your 5 strongest personality traits and why we behave the way we do. And it's a tool that those learnings can take us from our workspace to our board space to our personal lives. And they also recommended school administrators and potentially new hires going through that to help them understand how they'll work on their respective teams. There was a huge emphasis on building trust amongst board members in hopes of building stronger working relationships. And then again, it really focused on the fact that you have to be a board that works from a governance mindset, which we put a lot of miles on the track in effort to do so. So it really validated the work that we've been doing. School board leadership was it was a good class, but it felt like we could have gotten up there and taught that class because the things that they talked about, we're doing it. But there was one takeaway that was intriguing to me. They have they recommended a crisis communication team that would be partnered with local hospitals, local city officials, the board president, superintendent, district communications director, a law enforcement representative, and someone from the fire department. That if there were any crises, that team would come together. They would develop a plan and how it would be executed. So one thing that came top of mind, and they talked about it. A lot of districts weren't prepared for COVID the way we were. Thank you, Mr. Jolly, again for that. And they struggled getting where we were immediately in that pandemic. So, that might have been an opportunity for us to have had a team such as that to talk through how we might function as a district as we were trying to follow all the mandates that were given. And again, this one really validated what we've been doing. So I just have to say kudos to us as a board. And I'm done. Mhm. Mhm. Oh, I've done it twice
It's
through
really good.
jobs.
No, Tracy's right. It's good.
It's really good. It's a cost to it though. So we'd have to decide, and then each board member would have to commit to
Yep.
spending an hour. It's about an hour. You go through a self-guided online series of questions, and then at the end of that, it lists all of the strengths that they have, and it ranks them in order based on how you responded. So if you are a relator, an adapter, if you are oh, I can't think of some of mine right off the top of my head, but it tells you what your strongest personality types are. And when you understand those personality types, what we do at work is we lay it all out, the entire team, their top strengths, and then it allows you to see how many people of similar mindsets are there, and it will help you better understand. Sometimes when there's friction, you have people that are not as direct as other people, why they tend to function the way they do. You've got people who are your relators are all about building relationships and why they are always working to try to make sure the team is functioning as a team. So, in my opinion, I think it would be great for us to take what we've done with Deborah to the next level, but we'd have to look at it as a team and then we'd have to determine if it's an expense that we would take. But again, if we decide to do it as a team, we have to all do it. Hmm. I think it's. I have to look. I have to.
I think I
look.
seen one for 8,500.
Yes, I said because I. It depends. It depends on where you go. I went right to Gallup's website, but it was a real quick glimpse, so we'd have to look into it. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank all of the board members, and I know Ms. Muman, you couldn't come, but I want to thank you all for coming. What I see now when I talked to Tracy and Dr. Rock back in February 2022 is that on this national level, we're needed more than ever before. I mean, the days of the cube, and when Mimi took me to my first one, I didn't know nothing about it, but now I'm fully engaged in this, and I know what it is. So what happens now, like Tracy said, all presenters have to go through all of us. So it comes to me and maybe Gina, but it goes through all of the other 10 not steering, but advisor committee. And we see that and we want to get information so they can tell us what they're going to present. So it's not like we're just trying to plug people in or a moderator or speaker just to talk. These are people doing the work in districts like ours, like Superintendent Jolly when he presented 2 times for the National School Board. These are people that's doing the work. We're just not going and picking a hat. These are people who work with them. We're talking executive directors. So I'm glad that all of you guys liked it. I must admit though, it's becoming a lot of work and a lot of work for me. I mean, when I did it and because of Rick Lewis, I said I do it, but now everything's on me. So Warrensville was at the top of it. I mean, I didn't think I had to make 10 decisions every week about something from a new organization, but now I get it, and they need that leadership. But I see probably 8 good ones, like Tracy said, and really the UVA game was the best for me. I and I think it was. I think with Cosmo, we got too overwhelming and overwhelmed over 2,000 school board members with too much information. So we wanted to make everybody happy, rural, suburb, and we gave them a lot, but it was a lot to take in. But the ones that really stood out for me, and it was like, what we believe in what? As a district, if you want to be a whole school, a whole community, a whole child, what are you doing? What's your action plans? And Superintendent Jolly does this, but we probably need to do a little bit more. Is that we got to actually educate our parents and our cities that we represent, because they like, oh, that's Warrensville. Oh, yeah, they have no school board. That's Mimi. Oh, that's Tracy. But do you really know what we do? Do you know what we do for those kids that walked across that stage yesterday? Do they actually know? And they may never get it, but we still need to let them know. And Superintendent Jolly, I know you meet with the mayors, but we need to inform these actual residents and parents what we do. I mean, I just don't sit up here. You guys just don't sit up here out of your time. It's about the children we love. But I like that. It's like, what do we believe in as a district? So I like that one. And I like, and Miss Lindsay talked to it. What are we doing to prepare our scholars for tomorrow? And Barb, you spoke of it too. What are we doing for the disability children? What are we doing for our own? And I know Superintendent Jolly, you're reaching into that, and you're going back to alumni and kids who graduated with Mimi in 14 and 15. What are they doing? The Crystals, the Eddies. What are they doing? You know what I'm saying? We got to actually, and we don't have to talk to them daily, but we need to know and tell those great stories of what they're doing. But those are the two I got out. I'm glad that you guys are coming to the UBA. Just a little plug, and I sent it to you guys, but we are having our UBA symposium in Chicago, August 24th and 25th of this year. It's at the Sheraton Grand Hotel Riverwalk, and yours truly will be doing, I guess, everything. So, another note is that Rick Lewis did resign yesterday. Many of you heard, and Dr. Kathleen McFarland will be the new CEO of the Ohio School Boards Association. So I had a long talk with him yesterday, and he feels that she can do it. So that will be who will be running the Ohio School Board Association, Kathleen McFarland. And that's it for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our meeting. We do have time though to decide who's going to go to Chicago. Okay. What is there an early bird date?
Yes. I'm sorry. It's 250 early bird, and then it's 290 after the 17th of July.
Okay, so we've got time.
It's a 2-day seminar. It's a half a day, like but what we do, we start at 12 or 1 for that Thursday, and then Friday's the full day. So it's like a day and a half.
When is the date to that?
August 24th and August 25th. They want you to present too. So yeah, it's August 24th and 25th in Chicago. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like we were in Atlanta. And it's fairly inexpensive. It's $200 and some odd dollars.
That's not bad.
No.
All right.
And the rooms are 200.
So we can decide in our next
June
meetings who will be attending.
And I'll send you guys more information.
Okay. Thank you.
We got a meeting on the 8th. And then we do have a webinar on June 20th if you guys want.
Yeah, we saw that as well.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for the updates. We don't have any new business. Dr. Ruck, do we have any correspondence? All right, we're at announcements, and before I let you take the floor, Mr. Jolly, I hope I speak on behalf of the board. We want to congratulate you for being a 2023 YMCA Community Impact Award recipient. I believe everybody, I think 2 of us aren't going to be able to go on June 1st to celebrate with you at the YMCA Founders Day event.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I didn't see that coming. So I appreciate it.
It's well deserved. Well deserved. That's all I have.
I had an announcement. Mr. Freeman on Monday was recognized to be inducted into the National High School Football Hall of Fame.
I probably didn't, but thank you.
He probably could give more details.
Yeah, the National High School Football actual museum is taking place. It's actually started with a friend that me and Earl knows, Lamont Robinson had an ideal back here 3 years ago to do something for high school football players, and he actually worked with Kent McKinley, and he worked with the actual NFL Hall of Fame. And what they want to do is put a list of people, and then they have a committee of 12 that pick these guys. I think Lamont, being that lead of it, he get to pick who he wants. Since I played and he's seen me, that's what he could say. But I want to thank our mayor too, because when I was in the room, like 5 of those media people said Brad Sellers is always braggadocious about who he's seen in high school, and they kept throwing out my name. But it's a great honor to go in with Jim Brown, and God rest him, he was a football god, but it just gives Warrensville some publicity, and I like that. I'm all about Warrensville, so it was on Channel 5 yesterday. But I feel good about it. 15 other people, so me and 14 others went in it. It's a good name of guys that went. But now it's a new fraternity of high school Hall of Famers. But I'm thankful to represent Warrensville, and that's it.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, I hope to see as many folks as possible over this weekend as we celebrate the closing of Warrensville Heights High School. Last night was bittersweet. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be bittersweet as we bring this I guess it's an era to a close.
It's definitely a tear.
And we'll continue the legacy as we move from one old building to the new one. Exactly.
Yep.
Very much so. So with that, may I ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Thank you. May I have a second? It has been moved and seconded. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks everybody for coming. You too.
Congratulations. You went in with Jim Brown too. Nice.
They got 97.
Which are the last one?
And you ain't gonna get the kid.
No, we got big boxes of them.
Because you know what, Mr.
Yeah.
I never Mr. Tyler,
Yeah, I had that box. Y'all take some.
you tell we can't keep them.
Take Ray.
I'm telling you, that's right.
I didn't want them to throw it away.
They not throwing nothing away. They keeping it. He told me I couldn't touch nothing.
Relax.
You too.
That's okay. I like it. I like it. I answered.
That's what happens when you're tired.